Hello class, and today we're going to be looking at the integration matrix and how to use that in your classroom. So the purpose of the integration matrix is to look at the types of activities that you are using for your unit and what type of challenges they address. So in this case, Bloom's taxonomy is on the first level, and we're looking to see if we can create activities that address each one of those taxonomies. So knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, evaluation, and synthesis. And then also we're looking at Gardner's multiple intelligences to see which types of activities we are using and if we're meeting the needs of all of our intelligences that exist in our classrooms. So let's take a tour. The first thing you're going to see is the unit and theme. For this particular unit, I'm using Monster by Walter B. Myers. And then you have unit standards. And as you can see, I'm only looking for the domain, letter, and number. We're going to use those standards a little bit later when we address each one of our activities. So, under Bloom's taxonomy, again, you'll notice knowledge, comprehension, and so forth. And under each one of those is a list of verbs. And these verbs are by no means the only ones that you can use. If you have other ideas, then by all means, feel free to use those. But they give you an idea of where to start. And then on the left, you see the Bloom's taxonomy, the Gardner's multiple intelligences, and you see the types of activities that students complete in those particular intelligences. So let's take a look at one. If you take a look at this yellow one right here, it says students will record at least 5 phrases, word choices, sections of dialogue, or descriptions that you found interesting. Share your selections and reasons for selecting each with a partner. Use this information to compare and contrast motivation and reactions of literary characters. So the reason I put this in knowledge and verbal linguistics is because, number one, students are going to record information from the text. So I started with the verb up here of record. And then I tell how students are going to use this knowledge. And so in a journal, they're going to record the information, and then they're going to share their selections with their partners. A second part of this is actually comparing and contrasting, which could go under a different section. So this could actually cover, we know that we're covering 2 types of Bloom's taxonomy here. But the reason why it's in knowledge is because first they're just extracting the information from the text and they're sharing it with their partner. The next step is that analysis where they're comparing and contrasting the motivation and reactions of literary characters. And you might take them there a little bit later, if not the first time. And you'll notice here again, I have R3.3, so I'm designating which standard aligns with this particular activity. And that keeps me on the same road with the set. So I'm ensuring that I'm hitting all of my standards that I've covered at the beginning of the unit that we started in class. So let's take a look at the green one again. So in a group, compare and contrast character to another movie or TV character and place your findings on a poster. And then here, the purple, summarize the plot of the book by constructing a timeline of events, incident by incident, as it unfolds in the book. Compare classmates' summaries to text to determine if it accurately captures the main idea. So again, I'm covering 2 standards here, but I want to point out why it is considered comprehension and logical mathematical. First of all, I begin with the verb, summarize, and that comes from comprehension. So I know that I'm talking comprehension right here. And then, how are they going to summarize? So summarize the plot of the book by constructing a timeline event, and that shows the logical mathematical side. The second part, again, is a 2-part assignment. So comparing classmates' summaries to text to determine if it accurately captures the main idea. And that is actually from the standards. So I'm covering 2 standards, R3.2, where they have to summarize, they have to know the plot line, and R2.4, where they have to compare the summaries to the original text. So again, covering 2 standards, and I actually could have cut this out and placed it in a different section if I wanted to. So let's take a look at another one. R2.7 right here, the purple, it says take the role of one of the characters and dramatize a court scene or an action sequence. Audio tape or videotape your dramatization. So that's covering R2.7, and in this case, again, I'm taking a role of one of the characters. I am dramatizing a court scene or an action sequence. So in this case, evaluation, the reason why I'm evaluating is because I have to judge the character. I have to learn about the character, evaluate the character before I can act out or dramatize the role. And this one you might be familiar with, the yellow right here under synthesis. It says design a public service announcement that persuades teens to tackle a relevant teen issue demonstrated in Monster. Write a screenplay, film the PSA, and present it to classmates on campus. Include a print advertisement that complements your PSA. And this is Listening and Speaking 2.4. So this is synthesis and bodily kinesthetic. The bodily kinesthetic comes from the fact that they are creating a video, and it's synthesis because they have to compose or create an actual public service announcement to demonstrate that they understand one of the themes within Monster. Another activity that I used for Monster was to compose an editorial to the school newspaper on one of the following topics. So, should teens serve time in adult jails for violent crimes? Should prisoners be released due to jail overcrowding? Should teen sentences be minimized after they've proven good behavior? Or are criminals guilty until proven innocent? Again, I'm covering, this is under evaluation, this is under synthesis because they're actually composing an editorial. Any sort of writing assignment where they have to synthesize the information is going to go under synthesis. And this is intrapersonal because they are writing an editorial in this case. They're giving their opinion about a subject. And I went even further to write an optional side. They could write this in the form of an essay, a persuasive essay, or they can write this in the form of a speech, in which case I would be covering either W2.4 or LS, Listening and Speaking 2.4. So those are some examples of how to complete the chart. I think I've asked for 7 to 10 activities, and by no means do you want to fill out this entire chart. Depending on how long your unit actually is, and I think I asked for no more than 2 weeks for your final unit. So a lot of these activities are going to show up in your final unit when you write your lesson plans out. Also, if you write, if you think of the lesson plans that we have to do later on in the year, we have to do a listening and speaking activity. I think that's coming up next. And then we have to do a reading assignment and a writing lesson plan. So you can chart those onto your integration matrix, and so that you're aware that they are going to be added later on into the unit, and then you can write your lesson plan for that particular lesson, for that particular activity. And as a final note, I just want to make sure we understand. You might want to start with a verb. So if we look at Bloom's taxonomy, start with a verb here. So they're going to demonstrate which knowledge, and then go with how they're going to demonstrate that knowledge. So using a poetry, debate, or a drawing model or diagram. So students will record the information in a journal, or they will experiment using a graph, or they will forecast using a song, rap, or lyric. So those are some ideas to give you, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And I think this is a very useful tool. If anything, this is the one way to ensure that you are differentiating instruction if you don't go beyond this. One thing I would like to mention is some of you have talked about using tic-tac-toes, and what you could do is if you have too many activities on your chart and you know that you do not have the time to complete them, then a good way is to take about 6 of those activities off of the chart and put them onto a tic-tac-toe and create choice for the student. Also, these activities can be done individually, in groups, in pairs. You decide in which form they are going to do it, as long as you're covering Bloom's taxonomy and Gardner's multiple intelligences. So again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope this helps you complete the integration matrix.